Hello everybody, welcome to a speedrun game against Hisham 777777, rated almost 1800. Let's see how an almost 1800 rated player attacks the Scandinavian defense. Now the best way to break apart the Scandi is to play theory. Scandinavian's a weird opening that only crumbles to theory, unfortunately. It requires you to memorize something for an advantage, but you could just play an equal game and go into an endgame too. In any case, this guy puts his pawn on d3 instead of d4. Not theory. So we're going to just develop our bishop. We're going to try to keep the same setup we've been using. When we see the bishop alignment, we know to go c6. That's his cue to double our pawns. You know that we like that position. Now if he doesn't double our pawns immediately, we'll just go to c7, removing the possibility. Even though we don't mind it, our queen's going to end up on c7 anyway. So two birds, one stone, right? Which is unlikely that you're going to hit two birds with a single stone. I guess they never said how big the stone was, so if you have two stationary like pigeons and you drop a boulder from a building, that'll work. Okay, so he goes for this one, and the difference is I cannot go to c7 because of where he put his knight, but it's a super awkward square and he's not going to double my pawns. There's no follow-up for this knight. He's going to have to move it once we move our queen. Weird. So you can go to b6. You can also go to d8. b6 is interesting. His knight's hanging. Where does it go? He can't go to the center then because of b6. Says you have to go back. Then what the heck was the point of all this? Yeah, he can't attack my queen again, and he has to go back. It does hang a pawn, but I'm not keen on taking it, as after he goes here, he collapses our position. Okay. Okay, so he does hit it again, but I mean, come on. What are you doing? I almost want to go queen a5 check again, but I'm not going to. Let's just go to d8 and say, guy, what are you doing? Are you really going to take this? I dare you. All right, we dare him to take this pawn. Why? Because he develops a rook for us. Now we don't have to move the rook. And he wastes time taking it. And he's going to have to waste time going back. And if you take with the knight, your knight's stuck. So we dare him. But he doesn't do it. He goes back to the center. He hits the bishop. Whatever. One move threat. His pieces are looking awkward. Not impressed. I'm just going to slink back. Makes a lot of sense as it was undefended. I don't want to hang it. He moves the same piece again, takes away the square from his other knight. See, I don't get how these people are 1800. It baffles my mind. He's obviously going to e5, but like, you could have done it with the other knight. Anyway, let's ruin his plan just for fun. Normally I would go e6, but considering I know what he wants to do, I'm going to go knight bd7 first and prevent it. Because that's going to make him mad. And making your opponent mad is even more fun than winning. We're going to go e6 next, bishop e7 and castle. So he goes here. Maybe he'll hit the bishop. It's neither here nor there. It doesn't actually matter. We can always harass his bishop when we feel like it, but I'm going to prioritize development and castling, and then I'll go on my little escapades. So right now, e6, opening up my bishop, makes sense. I mean, his position's fine. It's not like he's losing or anything, but it's just a dumb way to start the game when you're 1800. Let's see what he does. I mean, there's a low-hanging fruit move, but what are the chances he makes it? Come on, you know you want the bishop. You know you want the bishop. A3. Guys, why aren't you 1800 yet? Please. You can't let these guys be ahead of you. A3. Making room for the bishop, but I mean, okay, it's a move. It doesn't collapse his position. Fine. I'll let you know when he collapses his position, right? Moves like A3, they're slow, but they generally don't collapse your position. So It's fine. Instead of hitting the bishop, he chooses the more aggressive knight g5, which has even less purpose than hitting the bishop. What is this? I can easily go h6, dislodge this guy, and create a home for my bishop. It looks like a terrible move. Maybe he wants to sacrifice. He gets a pawn, I get a piece, he gets a pawn, hits my queen, and then the third pawn. Something like that. Okay, so we're on to this guy. So we're not going to play h6 because there's some cheeky sacrifice. It's in the Caro-Kann, it's in the Scandinavian, it's in whenever you have this weird light square passive pawn thing, it exists. So let's see. If we castle, he gets a pawn, we get a piece, he goes here. We could allow it, but I don't see the need to allow it, so I'm not going to. Instead, I'm going to move my knight to the center, blocking that, attacking this, and maybe making room for my other knight in the future. It seems like a good move. A very good move. And, okay, I'd rather be black. h4. Now this guy's getting aggressive. He wants to go h5, potentially trapping my bishop, although it's not actually trapped, so it's awkward. It also weakens the dark square. So if we take this and he takes, he really has some weaknesses. But we could also go back to h6 since there's no sacrifice. And I'm going to do that. Now what do you do with your knight? Now my bishop has a home. Now this is pawn's not going anywhere. Right? So it's a very useful move. At any moment I can take this guy. Maybe, okay, so he moves to the center. What's the threat? No threat. It's pretty dominated by my bishop nicely, which we like. There's always this bishop now, and we can get the bishop pair. That seems quite reasonable. So I'll do that. The downside is it brings a pawn to the center. The upside is it severely messes with his dark square complex. So we're going to do that for sure. Because he doesn't have a dark square bishop, and the value of the dark squares increase. So if this was a stock market of chess, dark squares increased, I get the dark square bishop, which means the value of a dark square bishop, whatever it was, let's say it was 3, let's just say, now it's 3.3, 3.4, right? Because its stock went up with the dark square, so it's more valuable. So there's pressure here, there's queen b6 pressure here. Queen b6 is quite interesting, developing a piece for free. You could always harass the bishop and replace the knight in the center. You can go to f6. You have so many moves. You can take his knight, ruin his pawn structure, remove his most forward active piece, double his pawns, double isolate them. Also interesting. Let's do that. It also gets the bishop out of the h5. So now h5 doesn't come with tempo, so it's a useless move. And now queen b6 seems very reasonable. Attacking this, attacking this. Now knight f6 also comes with a threat, and not just a threat, but the outpost square, which would create more threats. So he collapsed. So at what point did he collapse? I think he got too fancy with h4, allowing us to kick his knight, followed by taking the bishop, taking the knight, and going queen b6. So yeah, not castling and going h4. He broke step number 3, and he's going to pay the price. So he goes here, which does defend both pawns, but now your rook can't get out. Queen doesn't want to be here. It'd much rather be on a, where it has squares. Now, I mean, what's it doing? 3 squares? That's not cool. And I mean, at the end of the day, these pawns aren't going anywhere. It's not like I need to win it immediately, but I could try. I could improve my bishop, but instead I'd rather improve my knight or castle, right? There's even castling long possibilities, but I'm going to stick with castling short. There's no way he has an attack here. He doesn't even have all the pawns, right? And it's his king that's in trouble. With his queen here, he's never castling long. And castling short is not safe at all. In the middle, it's not safe. So he's got problems. He makes a bishop move. Not the right idea. Doesn't help him. He's clearly just trying to block the queen's access to the pawn, but I'm not a pawn grabber because he's just going to go here and then infiltrate. that's not even a real threat by us. But he doesn't know that. So we should improve our knight or develop a new piece. Those seem like the logical things before we even calculate. Now when we calculate, we say, okay, the rooks don't come in with threats. This hits a pawn, but if he pushes the pawn, you still have amazing squares to go to. But what about this? Hitting the bishop and the pawn. You see? So with some calculation, I'm going to improve the knight for free. He's probably not going to want to give up the bishop. But in any case, I'll take the pawn. I could take the bishop because after that, I can even take that pawn. You can do whatever you want. Everything's winning. That's the great thing about these types of winning positions is everything's winning. Maybe he'll push. That seems like a human response, and there we go. A useless move, so I figured he would make it. So I'm going to take his bishop, and then I'm going to take his pawn. We're now up a pawn, and look at these pawn structure. All because he wanted to attack my king. And at the end of it, he just castles. So there's no attack on my king. He just has severely compromised structure, which is a win condition in an endgame. Plus, I'm up a pawn with perfect harmony in my pawn structure, one of the advantages of this candy. So you could obviously just develop your last piece towards the only open file. It makes a ton of sense. But if you have a forcing move, because that's not forcing, you need to consider that first. And we do. Look at this alignment. Not so hot. Bishop c5 hangs the bishop, unfortunately. Huh. Okay. We have our win condition anyway. Let's bring in a rook to the d file. See what he does. His queen still has to defend both points. I mean, I don't really care about the b pawn. I'm probably not going to take it anyway. But I'm definitely going to take e3 if he lets me. Because there's a clear difference in the pawns. Like, if you give the b pawn, I keep mentioning rook b1, you always have to consider that. That's why b pawns are poisoned. So I don't want to open the b file towards my only weakness in the position. The only thing you could potentially target is my pawn, which is undefended, right? Now, it's not a big deal. I could defend it. Okay, he moves his knight, which, what's the threat? Attacks my queen. What's the drawback? Undefends this pawn. Not a good idea, because I'm just going to move my queen, right? One move threat. Also undefends this pawn, so it undefends two pawns. So we can move our queen and have a double attack. What else do we have? This is the most forward available square, but seeing as it doesn't come with the same amount of threats, I don't like it as much. What else do we have? Rook sack, he takes. If I had a cool follow-up, I would do it, but I don't see it. So let's go to this centralized pseudo outpost, threaten this pawn, which is his strongest and weakest pawn at the same time. It's a glass cannon type of thing. He goes back to defend both pawns. That's awesome. Okay, but now we can do some stuff. We can put our queen on this actual outpost, which double attacks this pawn. Is he really going to play g3 and weaken his position further? There's also other moves like bishop c5 with the queen support, but I kind of like this, if I'm being honest. You can just bring in your rook, you can double stack, your queen's in a beautiful location on an outpost, controlling the entire board. What a piece. And his queen on c1, not impressive. His rook, not in the game. But I'm not giving him time to get his pieces out because I keep making threats. So he moves the queen, maintains this because I'm no longer attacking b, and double defends this. It's a move, but now his queen's not controlling c5, so you can improve for free or improve for free. You see how where my moves come from? I'm always looking for the same things, and if they don't exist, then I go to the next layer. So this one I kind of like, but how does he defend the pawn? Wait, he can't, except with his king, which has to be bad, right? Although this prepares doubling. So let's go with the rook. As the bishop is still well placed here because of this pawn. So it would be nice to just get our other pieces in the game for free. Bishop c5 is a totally good move if that's what you want, but then your rooks are still here. Again, winning, but you can see my train of thought. I want to get in more pieces so that all the lines, the potential tree of lines, should I make a mistake, will benefit me because I'll have more pieces in the game to recover my position if I make a mistake. So he does do it. That's crazy. Okay, now bishop c5 and he can't defend it a third time. So that makes more sense as rook a d8 is not forcing. Huh. Wait, but the drawback of this move is it blocks his queen's diagonal. So now we have this because he undefended the pawn. Check. We get a pawn. I guess he could block it. He doesn't have to take with the knight. We would just scoop a pawn there. If he did take with the knight, we take, check. I don't really like that. I feel like that's not maximizing what we can get from this. So I'm going to go for bishop c5 as it should definitely be stronger than taking the immediate pawn. Because this is devastating. It's like it's not just a pawn. It's a devastating winning move. Because his king is there and there's just alignments, oops, with everything. I don't know. Okay, either anything's winning, but I like this move. So he moves his knight, undefends the pawn so we can win it, but it obstructs this. Fair enough. We could take it and win that pawn and that pawn and that pawn. So he's just toast. This pawn's hanging. Everything's hanging. I hate having this many options, good options. I'd rather only have one good line where I'm like, ah, that's the move. I hate having 5 good moves. It wastes too much of my time, and then I have to evaluate which one's better than the other. It's just dumb. I mean, you don't have to evaluate. You could just snap take, but then the engine's like inaccuracy or a mistake because there's this stronger line, and I hate the engine. I mean, now if you take here and he goes here, you have this, and there's some junk. But since he's blocking our bishop, let's just trade, right? Because our bishop's going to not be doing anything if there's a knight stuck in the way. Now what do we want to take? I feel like this one comes with check and we can take more stuff. Maybe there's some rook moves. I don't know. If his king goes to the right, we can win his queen. This wins a queen. This is checkmate though. So when you can win a queen, checkmate him instead. Look at this position, guys. And how many of you, when you saw h4 with the knight here, were worried for black? How many of you thought white was on the attack and black was being attacked? See how that's not the case? You need some type of grounds to be able to play like this, h4. You can't just do it because you feel like it. You need to, okay, you say, oh, I have a lead in development, or he has these weak squares, or like, you need something, a basis for that. You can't just randomly do it. Anyway, I can, but you can't. So, Scandinavian, normal stuff. Queen a5, development in center, development in center, prophylaxis, center, retreat diagonal, prophylaxis. Okay, in hindsight, I mean, Queen b6 is just as good as Queen d8, but if you find bishop e3, if psychologically you can't handle the fact your queen's getting a hit again, you could just go to d8. But I'm not like that. I encourage people to do these things, right? Because I have enough experience that I can take myself out of the immediate game and see what's going on as a whole, as opposed to being like taking it personally, right? Like these people they take everything personally. That's why they let their clocks run out. Anyway, so now we're forced to go here. It's just an even game, but I like black because of the awkwardness, the lack of the d4 pawn, and the simplicity of black's position. Like with my eyes closed, we know what the next like 5 moves are, right? We're gonna put the pawn here, the bishop here, castling, this here. We'll kick a knight. We'll go h6, and we'll trade stuff and see what happens. It's easy. Okay, force move, and excuse me, development, center, prophylaxis. It's in my chest. Okay, center and development. Development and king safety. Okay, we have two inaccuracies which don't count. No mistakes, no blunders, 94. Okay, good. See, it's a mistake, but how many of you will think it's aggressive? Now I'm curious about uh the sacrifice. So h6 should be interesting after. Well, actually, if h6, he can't even go bishop because you could take the knight instead of the bishop. So he would have to sack this way, which isn't nearly as strong. I see. Yeah. So this sack does exist, but you need to sack the bishop. And then, well, here we would take the knight. But let's say you take the bishop, which is how this works, and he takes here. A lot of times, okay, it also doesn't work here because you have a check to get out of it. And so this doesn't work on like 10 different levels. But the thing is, let's say you go queen b6 and it wasn't hanging, right? His whole thing is he already took one pawn, then he took a second pawn, and now he takes a third pawn. And in the lines I'm thinking of, white's actually winning in those lines. So it doesn't work here, but you have to be aware that these things exist, this type of sacrifice. It's more in the Caro-Kann, but I'm trying to borrow knowledge and make sure I don't blunder the game. So I guess you could have played h6. I forgot about this check in any line, and I forgot you could just take the knight because I was too hard focused on the Caro-Kann line. Anyway, we don't play it. We play, I think, an even better move. I guess they're both really good, whatever. Just improving a piece, prophylaxis, and for free because the bishop pair is huge. Because our bishop, this is our good bishop, and we would love to take its counterpart. You see, immediately, -2. This is not an attacking move, it's a weakening move. There's nothing to attack. I didn't even castle. You think if I see this pawn on h6, I'm going to be castling? No, I'm just going to go the other way. So, way premature and way too fancy for an 1800 who plays like this. He's not strong enough to do this stuff yet. He needs to be castling, based on what I see in this game anyway. So, h6, improving our position for free, getting his piece off of our side of the board, creating future luft for our king, and we're already winning. It's that simple. Why? Because of the sequence we implemented in the game, which is correct. Free stuff, as bishops are stronger, controlling many more squares than knights. Followed by ruining his pawn structure, double isolating his pawns, and then queen b6, killer blow, developing for free. It really doesn't matter how strong the white player is. This is very easy to win with black. He makes a defensive passive move that has to just lose you the game slowly. As you're trapping 5 points of material, that's never going to get out with your queen there. So it can't be the right approach. If you want to do anything, if you want to cover both of these squares with white, like he probably didn't, maybe he didn't look at queen d4, right? A more forward available square that doesn't block the rook. Maybe he can long castle or something. So he just made like a super passive move. It looked wrong when he did it. And now king safety and development. We completed all 3 steps. Okay, improving a piece for free at -3. Free stuff as bishops are stronger. Free stuff. Development and center. Forced move for free. Improving a piece for free. Improving a piece for free. Improving a piece for free. At -5, now it's -10. He tried to make the only move he thought, but this knight was really the only thing, like the only type of glue he had in the position. So by moving it and undefending everything, the best move at -12 is taking the knight. Free stuff as Trader wins. Free stuff for free. And he doesn't have any moves, legal moves, other than to the right, which leads to mate 1. So beautiful game. Kind of cool. Interesting because people attack the Scandi in different ways. Like they're kind of similar at this higher levels, but they always have their own little nuances. Like this guy chose this way, and then he launched this. So they always do their own little version of it, but none of it's theory, none of it's critical, and black will always be fine. So good luck in your chess. Submit your rapid games in my Discord. Goodbye, guys.